today we learn about the diseases which are caused by the virus. So, what do you mean by virus, or what are viruses? Well, because we will learn about the diseases caused by viruses or the viral diseases. So, first of all, you have to remember what are viruses. Clear? So, before I remember, just think. Are the viruses living or non-living? So just keep it in mind and keep on asking yourself and try to find out the answer whether these viruses are living or non-living. Okay, so what are viruses? So viruses are extremely small substances, and the genetic material which are present in viruses are simply RNA, ribonucleic acids. Our genetic material is DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. What viruses? They are simply made up of RNA, ribonucleic acids. Clear? So they are called RNA is the genetic material. So RNA are present in viruses, and you find proteins also, and they are simply visible through the electron microscope. Now, characteristics. They do not live freely in nature. That means in nature, viruses are not able to live freely. They can live only inside the other cell. That means in the nature, alright, we cannot see virus living freely. But once it enters our body, then they start to behave as a living entity. Alright, they start showing the characteristics of a living organism. So, outside they are not able to live freely, but once they enter our cells, our body, they can live. Number two, they take over the metabolism of their host cells in their own favor, producing more viruses and usually killing the host cells. That means once the virus enters our body cells, then it will start using our body metabolism and start producing new viruses, and will kill our host cells. Next one. The viruses can be cultured on living tissue in the laboratory. That means viruses can be cultured in the laboratory, and also they can be crystallized and stored in the cell. So viruses can be stored in the form of crystals. Clear? So this one, the viruses are highly specific. What do you mean by specific? That means those particular viruses which will cause a disease in case of dog or in case of rabbits, the same viruses cannot show the same particular disease, or they cannot infect the human being. So they are highly specific. So look over here. So they attack only the kind of host and only certain tissues. So therefore they are highly specific. So over here, kindly remember the name of the disease. Okay, the name of the disease caused by virus is myxomatosis, which is very fatal, lethal in case of rabbits. But such type of viruses, that is myxomatosis, has no effect on human being. Similarly, in case of dog also, you can find over here, in case of dog also, the rabies virus. Okay, remember, the rabies virus, which normally affect the dog and relative, has no effect in case of human being. So this means the viruses are highly specific. Okay? So now we can say that viruses, once they are outside our living body, when they are in the nature, alright, they act as non-living entity. They cannot multiply. But once they enter our body cells, they start showing the property of living organism. Clear? Now, next one, we'll discuss about the viruses, why they are considered as a connecting link between living and non-living beings. That means it is a connecting link. It will connect, or it will show the features of both the living organisms and the non-living organisms. Now we are going to discuss it. Now the features which support them in living beings. What are those features that will support the viruses as a living being or living organism? First one, they can multiply inside the host cell, which can be considered as reproduction. So once the viruses enters our body, they can multiply. That means they are showing the property of reproduction. They are able to reproduce, which is the property of living organisms. Now, features which support them as non-living beings, they cannot respire, they cannot show metabolism, they cannot grow or multiply by themselves outside the host cell. That means outside the host cells, they are not able to reproduce, they are not able to multiply, which is the property of non-living organisms. Clear? Now, next one, the feature that support living being, they command the host cells and behave like living beings inside the host. Non-living character, they can be crystallized and made inactive for indefinite length of time. So these are the features which can support that viruses are a connecting link between the living and non-living organisms. So simply once they are within our body, they act as living organisms. But once they are out of our body, then they act as non-living organism. Now there are different diseases which are caused by virus. Right? We have got smallpox, chickenpox, HIV/AIDS. Okay, we have got hepatitis. We have got cold and cough also. Alright, small like you can say cold, cough, can mainly be viral diseases. But in our syllabus, we simply talk about HIV/AIDS, we talk about chickenpox, and we talk about hepatitis. Okay, so first one we'll talk about HIV/AIDS. So now let us talk about HIV/AIDS. HIV means human immunodeficiency virus, and AIDS means acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Can you remember the abbreviations of HIV and AIDS? Okay, so the name suggests HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. So once this virus enters our body, or if an individual is infected by HIV, then it will directly go and attack our immune system. So the immune system of an individual will be very, very weak. Those who are infected by HIV virus. Clear? So it was first recognized in USA in 1981. Then an increasing number of cases have been reported every year, particularly all over the world. So first of all, it was recognized in USA in 1981. After that, it was spread all over the world. In India, let's go over here, estimate that almost there are around 2 lakhs confirmed cases of AIDS patients. And when those individuals who are in the age group of 20 to 39, they are more susceptible to HIV infection. Yeah. So now we look over here, which particular virus causes HIV/AIDS, or you can say AIDS. Can you remember the name? Okay. In higher classes, you learn about the term called retroviruses. There's a class of viruses called retroviruses, having RNA as genetic material, and HIV, the type of retroviruses that causes AIDS. So, the causative germs of AIDS, the virus named the HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. So, AIDS is caused by a virus called HIV virus. HIV is a class of retroviruses. Alright, retroviruses have RNA as genetic material. And here you can see the schematic diagram of HIV, which causes AIDS. Alright, you have to practice the diagram. So you can see the viral protein code over here. I mentioned that viruses are simply made up of RNA and protein. So this is the RNA, or this is the viral protein of virus, and this one is the RNA. RNA is the genetic material of viruses, whereas we human beings or multicellular organisms, we have got DNA is genetic material. So kindly go with the figure number 16.4. the diagram of HIV virus, human immunodeficiency virus that causes AIDS. Okay. Now, this particular virus is mainly present in the blood, semen, saliva, tears, and the urine. Yeah, and it mainly attacks the immune system of our body. It affects the or it infects the immune system of our body. And remember, we have got lymphocytes that provides immunity. We have got T lymphocytes and the B lymphocytes, which have gone in our previous classes also. So try to recall it back. Okay, we have got lymphocytes, B lymphocyte and T lymphocytes, which will provide the body immunity. So these HIV viruses, it will attack or it will infect the immune system. Therefore, the cells that fight against infections, and the patient suffers seriously from even minor infections of other diseases, because once the immune system will be very, very poor, will be very, very weak, so slight minor infections can be a major disaster for the HIV infected individuals. Clear? Even cancer appears when the immune system fails. The incubation period for the viruses is around how many years? 10 to 12 years. What is incubation period? The time period between when the viruses enters our body and will show the first symptom of the disease. That's called incubation period. So the incubation period for HIV virus is 10 to 12 years, and during this particular period, the infected person shows the presence of HIV virus and will become HIV positive. So most individuals, when AIDS is fully developed, die within 3 years from other infections or even other cancers. Why from other infections? Because the immune systems will be very, very weak and will not be able to fight with the minor infection also. Clear? Now, symptoms during this period may include swollen lymph nodes, fever, night sweats, and weight loss. These are the symptoms of HIV/AIDS. Till now, there is no such vaccination or the cure for the HIV/AIDS. Yeah? Okay. Now, transmission of AIDS. How AIDS are transmitted? First one, sexual intercourse. So between a man and a woman, when any of the three infected, that means if any one of the partners infected by HIV viruses, when having sexual contact, can really transfer the virus from infected individual to healthy individuals. Prostitution is the biggest source of the spread of the infections. Safest is the single partnership, wife and husband relationship. So we have to be whether to a single partnership, alright, for the prevention of transmission of HIV virus. Homosexual intercourse, alien sex with infrared persons can also transfer the disease or the virus. Number 2, contaminated blood transfusions. That means whenever the blood are transferred from one individual to another individuals, and if the blood is infected by HIV virus, and if the same blood is used for transfusion, then therefore the HIV virus will be transmitted through the blood transfusions. So in many situations such as excessive bleeding resulting from injury or during surgery, the patients have to be given blood transfusions. Now some children are born with the disease thalassemia, where there will be defective hemoglobin, and such individuals require frequently blood transfusions. Clear? Now over here, if those transfused blood are contaminated by HIV virus, then those individuals who are taking the blood will be infected by HIV virus. Now, according to the news published in the Times of India, dated August 5th, 1995, in one of the hospitals of Bombay, 45 of the 64 thalassemia children in the age group 2 to 15 years were found to be HIV positive. How? Simply, the blood which has been used for transfusion was already contaminated by HIV virus, and therefore those individuals, those particular children was infected by the HIV virus and they suffered from HIV/AIDS. Number 3, mother to child transmission. Mainly through the placenta, the HIV virus will pass or will transmit from the mother to the developing fetus. So, the germ from the infected mother may cross through the placenta and reach the embryo in the womb. So, by this way, the HIV virus can cross the placenta and reach the developing fetus, and the fetus will be infected from HIV virus. Injection needles. If the same needles is being used again and again, mainly in those individuals who are drug abusives, where they used to say the same needle, in that case there is higher chances of transmission of HIV virus. So these are the probable methods of the transmission of HIV/AIDS. And remember, till now, no such vaccinations has been developed for the prevention or the treatment of HIV/AIDS. Next disease, chickenpox, caused by the virus varicella zoster. Remember the name of the causative agent that by chickenpox. It's a herpes virus, varicella zoster. It's a contagious disease. It can be transmitted from one individual to another individuals. Mainly occur in children, but most often the adults will also be infected. Disease spreads quickly by close contact with an infected person. That means it can be transmitted from an infected individual to a healthy individual. Symptoms: presence of irritating rashes that appear on the body, starting near the chest and back, and gradually spread to the arms, legs, face, and the head. These are the symptoms of chickenpox. Now, those rashes first appear as pink spot, and it rapidly changes to a watery blister. The blister gradually shrivels up and soon dries, forming scabs. This time in the infectious period. The symptoms: presence of rashes around the chest and the back, and that rashes spreads over the arms, legs, face, and over the head. Now those rashes usually have a pink spot, but finally changes into watery blister. The blister will shrivel up, it will dry up, and form the scab, which is the most infectious period. Treatment of chickenpox: bed rest, keeping the rashes clean and dry. Do not prick the blister. Caramel lotion can be used to reduce itching. Use of neem leaves can also prevent the transmission of chickenpox. Vaccination is very important. Vaccination of live attenuated vaccine containing varicella is given to the children of the age of 12 to 18 months for active immunization. So vaccination can be given for the prevention of chickenpox. Next disease caused by virus is hepatitis, which is caused by the 5 strains, the subtypes of viruses. Which viruses? Namely, hepatitis A virus, hepatitis B virus, hepatitis C virus, hepatitis T virus, and hepatitis E virus. So there are 5 strains of viruses that causes hepatitis. And what are those strains? Hepatitis A virus, hepatitis B virus, hepatitis C virus, hepatitis D virus. So this particular virus causes hepatitis, and it will infect the liver. It will cause the liver cirrhosis. That means the liver cell will start dying, or it will cause liver cancer. So remember the 5 strains of viruses that causes hepatitis. That is hepatitis A virus, B, C, D, and E virus. Okay, which causes hepatitis, which causes the inflammation of the liver. Now, over here, can you remember the mode of infections? Alright, causes inflammation of the liver, and it is mainly caused by the contamination of food, water, and syringe and blood transfusion. Now, incubation period. The incubation period of hepatitis A virus is 14 to 45 days. Transmitted by contaminated food and water. Hepatitis B virus has got the incubation period of 6 to 26 weeks, and it is transmitted through contaminated syringe and transfusion equipment. Hepatitis C virus and D virus are similar to V virus, and it mostly infect the liver. So symptoms of hepatitis C and D are simply high temperature, headache, joint pain, loss of appetite, general feeling of illness, nausea, and vomiting. After 3 to 10 days, jaundice may develop with deep yellow urine and light colored stools. These are the symptoms of hepatitis. Treatment: bed rest until fever has been settled down. Take high calorie diet with limited or no protein and fat. Wash hands after handling patient's bedpan and clothes. These are the few treatment or prevention of hepatitis disease. Okay. Now next one. How do the viruses differ from bacteria? What are the difference between viruses and bacteria? So let's check it out. First point, viruses are very small. They can be seen only through electron microscope, whereas bacteria are larger. They can be seen by light microscope. Number two, viruses are all cellular. All cellular means without proper cellular structure. That means you don't find proper cellular organelles in case of viruses. Whereas bacteria, they are single cell, where you will find the cellular organelles also. Viruses have no metabolism, but bacteria, they have metabolism. Viruses take no food by any method, bacteria take food by absorption. Viruses, they don't grow and divide, but bacteria grow inside and divide to produce more bacteria. Viruses can be crystallized, but bacteria, they cannot be crystallized. Viruses command the host cell to produce virus, bacteria, they produce or they will self-reproduce. Viruses all produce a disease in men, animals and plants, whereas bacteria, they are harmless, some are useful, and some are disease-causing. Okay, so today we are simply learning about the bacteria, learning about the viruses, alright, we learned about what are viruses, we have learned about the characteristics of viruses, and we have learned about the features that will help the viruses to act as a connecting link between the living and non-living organisms, and we have gone through the diseases that are caused by the viruses. And those diseases are simply XAVIER'S, chickenpox, and hepatitis. So kindly remember the pathogenic scientific name that will cause a particular disease, clear? And the symptoms, the treatment and prevention of the disease. So today we have finished this chapter, diseases, causing control, and in the next class we will move to the new chapter. Thank you.